Happy Sunday, everybody, and welcome back to Watchbox Studio. We have a really good show. It's your favorite weekend watch show. Dial in with CQ and Jay. I'm CQ, the watch guy.
I'm Jay, I love watches.
And we have a really action-packed show to you, a lot of cool stuff we're going to get into. Before we do that, though, we still have a little bit of a serious situation going on.
I mean, it's the city of brotherly love, so I don't think it's too serious, you know. And
I hope. I really hope.
We still have not found our associate, Zach Rego.
Yeah, you know, you guys did a great job with the social media campaign, hashtag Where's Rigo, but, you know, now, I don't know, maybe we should call the Philly PD, because we can't find Zachary Rigo.
Guys, I'm right here. I've been here the whole time. I'm just waiting for you guys to bring me in. Do you mind if I come in?
Can we start the show, though?
Oh, yeah, let's start the show. Okay, cool.
Zachary Rigo, everybody.
Thank you, guys. I gotta say that last show was great. I was watching from over there, and it was really good. So I gotta commend you guys on that last show. Go Eagles!
Oh, well, it would have been nice if you kind of hopped on, you know, being like the guy who's from Philadelphia.
Everybody knows that I'm a little quieter, so you know I'm a little shy. So I was in the corner. I was just waiting for you guys to bring me in. But I'm glad that I'm here today, guys, with you guys.
Well, there you go. Well, I guess we can get a great show started now that the whole gang is back together again.
That's amazing.
And Rigo's home safe again with the boys.
I feel free again.
So this episode, we thought we'd do something a little bit different. I wanted to talk a little bit about Quartz watches. You know, I feel like this show is a really great opportunity for people who are, you know, a little bit new into watch collecting, or, you know, thinking about what else to get to add to their collection to really, you know, broaden their base a little bit. So, you know, to get into that whole realm, I wanted to differentiate a little bit. Instead of talking about automatics, I want to talk about quartz watches. I think quartz watches are, you know, they're the most produced watches. Most watches that are produced are quartz watches. And I think a lot of people, you know, sometimes you say quartz and they get this bad taste in your mouth, like, oh, it's a quartz watch. You know, like I can't, you know, it ticks. I can't wear it. You know, I kind of wanted to break down that barrier, because quartz watches, weirdly enough, have a real impact on the whole industry. And when you go back to the history, it's really, really amazing to see what quartz has done and how the innovation and the competition that quartz watches wore in the 60s and 70s kept going to today and really kept pushing the envelope. Because remember, in my opinion, that's what watches and collecting watches and watchmaking is all about, is we as human engineers and scientists and just art lovers pushing the envelope forward and seeing how faster it can be, how more accurate that timepiece can be, so on and so forth. So I think we could do a nice little episode on quartz watches, and let's dive in.
Absolutely. I mean, there's no really reason to hate the quartz watch. I understand that, you know, it puts a bad taste in a lot of people's mouth. You know, they love mechanical watches and the craftsmanship, but a quartz watch has its place in the market for, you know, every watch collector.
100%.
Yeah. So, you know, maybe we should tell them a little bit about the history so that you can know why you really shouldn't be afraid of the quartz watch.
Yeah, definitely. I think the history is also a big part why people don't like quartz watches as well. You know, there's this big thing that happened called the quartz crisis.
Well, it depends on where you were, because outside of Switzerland, they called it the quartz revolution.
Yeah.
This is true, and I guess there is two sides to every coin, right?
Whoever wins writes the history.
This is true. This is true. So let's go back to say like the 1950s or so, because that's when, you know, electrical watches. Let's forget about quartz for a second, but that's when electrical watches started. Clocks, I should say, started appearing, you know, in Switzerland and other places. You skip forward to the 60s, a tuning fork had electric current running through it.
Which is nuts.
Which is insane. Insane.
We're going to do a watch, and it's going to be powered by a tuning fork?
A musical instrument.
What?
You know, it changed the world. You know, there were other quartz watches, not quartz, but electrical watches up until the Accutron, but the Accutron, the Bulova Accutron, combining that tuning fork technology with consistent accuracy and a vibration rate, really, really showed that it can be done, it can be consistent. Now, after this, you had a few players in the game. In America, we had Hamilton starting to do some research.
They were kind of local, right? They're actually in Pennsylvania, or they started in Pennsylvania.
Yeah, I don't think not too far from here. No. You know, people forget that the geography of the watch industry before the World Wars was a very, very vast place. You know, during the World Wars, because the world was at war, only places like Switzerland, because it was a neutral country, they were able to keep pushing forward. And in fact, they had a little bit of a monopoly for those years, because anybody who did watchmaking or any type of very small engineering or precision cutting, they're making guns. Spring makers weren't making springs for watches, they were making springs for guns and different type of instruments and
I mean,
cases.
at that time, they were like, had 50% of the market share.
Oh, easily.
In terms of watches.
Easily.
Which is nuts to think, but They really had to be the only ones at that time to really try and push mechanical watches, while everybody else was trying to, play around with, a different type of technology that we weren't familiar with. We were definitely ready to test its bounds, and, thank God for the Swiss, because without them, what would we be doing today?
Yeah.
Everything be electronic and.
Well, correct me if I'm wrong, but weren't the Swiss approached first about the quartz pieces? Like, wasn't it marketed to them first to see if they could kind of push these pieces out?
Well, it's interesting because there are a lot of different stories, 'cause as you said, whoever wins the war writes it, So there are theories that, Swiss nationals are who created the quartz technology, brought it over to Seiko. There is also theories that Seiko and Swiss companies at the same time were racing together. And there is, in fact, I think some competitions they had, Seiko and, I forgot the brand, but a few brands were actually presenting at the same time quartz watches before Seiko produced a quartz pocket watch, which was used as a backup pocket watch for the Olympic Games that year. And then, the history is really made after the Seiko Astron. Seiko Astron came out, you had a quartz watch that could be easily produced. And remember, at the time, everything was mechanical. So quartz watches in the 70s, as you can imagine, was like, whoa, it's new, it's funky. A few years later, you started seeing full LCD watches, full digital display watches. Casio got into the game. Hamilton, a lot of other big American groups got into the game as well. And then you started to see the quartz craze kind of take over. So I think what happened at this point is, the Swiss, because they've been in this pocket of watchmaking, everybody helping each other out, they're very, as it should be, they're very proud of the craftsmanship.
Absolutely.
They're very proud of the heritage.
Part of their national identity.
Yes,
Identity,
100%, 100%.
Yep.
And remember, clockmaking and watchmaking goes hundreds of years before then to the 17 and 1800s, where people were making these things. So it's definitely part of their identity. So when quartz watches became the craze, there were definitely a lot of people back home in Switzerland who were like, it's a craze that will pass. Maybe we don't need to jump into this. And I think a lot of big brands who, imagine if they did jump on that boat, missed the boat. And unfortunately, a lot of people went out of business. A lot of brands changed
A lot of people
forever.
were on unemployment because of the quartz crisis.
Yeah.
In Switzerland, from the dates of 1970 to 1988, there was 90,000 people in Switzerland working on watches, and towards the end of that time period, there was 28,000 people.
Wow.
That many people got laid off from their jobs just because a new technology came out.
Yep.
Thankfully, they've revived themselves a little bit, and they brought it back very strong. But that must have been a tough time in Switzerland, if you were working on watches, thinking, what is my future?
Yeah, no, the world is falling on top of you, literally. The craze was not your watches. What you imagine, like going to school or being an apprentice for decades, trying to make this beautiful mechanical timepiece, just for one day people to say we don't like mechanical timepieces anymore. It was really, really a change in just thinking. And thank God there was a few visionaries out there, such as Nicolas Hayek, who saw what was going on into the world, and who said, hey, we need to make some moves here to make sure we don't lose this rich history and what they developed. Because imagine at that time, that's probably one of their biggest exports was watches for the whole country at that point. So that's a lot of families affected, and just a true craft, that was almost on the brink of maybe disappearing forever. A few brands were able to not get hit so much, like your Patek Philippe, your Audemars Piguet, because they're already in this high-end kind of bubble. They were kind of doing a lot of one-off pieces for super
protected a little bit.
Exactly. They were not really phased out, but a lot of brands that we know today, Blancpain went completely out. Blancpain turned into just a name for a little bit. Omega really almost shut its doors. Breitling, I think, almost produced, hundreds of watches when they were producing thousands up till that point. A lot of brands really started creeping, and many that you don't know today, they're just in a big book of trademarks that you can just buy their name now, because during the quartz crisis, they couldn't hold on to what's going on.
That might be a good idea. Maybe we should be looking in that book, find something that we can start making. If you guys find something that you think we should start making again, you can let us know, and we'll look into it.
And you know what the craziest thing about the quartz specifically is that, like, you can use quartz to do so many things, because not only can you do an analog display, but you can also do a digital display, which is something that was never done before. And so with the quartz crisis, the first thing that they were doing was the LED displays. The problem with the LED display is that you needed two hands to see the time, because you need one hand to have the watch and the other hand to press to illuminate the watch. That was eliminated when they brought out the LCD. and the LCD is what really changed the game. And that's what really pushed Quartz watches to the next level, because now people could see the time during any time of day. They only needed one hand, and it wasn't hands, it was just numbers, and they could just read the time and go about their business. And I think James Bond was one of the people who was wearing the LED. The LED watch, he made it very popular.
But he doesn't have time to be using two hands
while
he's running from the bad guy shooting back there, and then he needs to use his other hand and go like this to see the time.
And he has to save the ladies too.
And yeah, he's got the lady in his one arm, and he can't be...
And you got a martini in a second.
Can you push this button for me while I look at the time? That's not cool.
No, it doesn't compute at all. It takes away some of the swag there.
But it was definitely a watch, Quartz, that allowed a lot of milestones to happen. So there was the first Quartz watch. Then they started using it in big events, like in 1964. They used it in the Tokyo Olympics to actually time backup time. They weren't using it as the primary time, of course, but backup time for marathon events, they would use it. And people were like, wow, if the Olympics are using it, it must be so precise, and it must be so, such a good way of keeping time that we've all got to jump on this bandwagon. Then it moves into different countries. America starts producing. They become, one of the biggest exports of Quartz watches. Then Hong Kong gets in the game, and they become the biggest export of, Quartz watches. People were just jumping into the watch game all around the world because of a new technology coming out that was very exciting.
Yeah, no, it's really interesting. At that point, like you said, when Quartz revolution came through, a lot of brands, in the U.S., Japan, different places in Europe really started to get into it, because you didn't need to have, this super rich history of mechanical watchmaking. You didn't need to have all these crazy patents. You didn't need to have 100-year-old lathes and machines and things like that. You could just come with some circuits and a nice case, and you get a nice designer like Gerald Genta, who we talked about and did so many quick little patents like a Timex Quartz watch as well. It really opened up the brand, and it's kind of, I want to say, unfortunate that the only soldier left standing in that whole battle on the U.S. side was Timex. Yeah. When everybody else went out, Timex watch keeps on ticking, literally kept on ticking, and kept the U.S., kind of moving forward for a little bit. And then it's interesting, to me, I feel like a lot of industries are kind of like muscles, right? You need stress. If you want growth, you need cataclysmic tearing of fibers just to rebuild in a stronger form. And I think that was what was happening in Switzerland with Nicolas Hayek and some friends there when he started to think about the Swatch watch, to just get a really nice, funky, colorful quartz timepiece that he knew was fashionable.
Oh, yeah.
There are a lot of people who can make really, really nice watches, really nice cases, really great complications, but not everybody's thinking, hey, let's just give the people what they want.
Oh, yeah.
They want something that's going to tell time great, that's going to look great, and it's going to be fun, and at a price point where you won't mind buying 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 or 7.
Nope.
And that's when the Swatch watch came out, and he was able to get so much funding through the Swatch watch, keep producing pieces, and then was able to acquire ETA and different groups, and then slowly to help different brands out, and really help create the backbone, the vertebrae of the industry, to help a lot of brands, kind of get back up there. Get back up there using nice ETA movements. And he said, hey, don't worry about making movements. Buy movements from me. It's going to be at a decent cost. But let's keep the Swiss industry moving forward. Let's keep the train going.
Now, do you know what watch really spiked it all for ETA and the Swatch Group?
Tell me.
It's the Delirium watch.
Ooh.
Now,
Sounds
essentially,
like
what it was is that...
it's a good beer, too.
Yeah, really?
It's a very good beer, Delirium.
Delirium was created through the Concorde manufacturer, essentially, and it was marketed to the U.S. It was actually the thinnest watch made. It was 0.98 millimeters. And so pretty much they released the Delirium. It was a quartz piece that was all gold, and it just changed the way people thought about quartz, because they could wear a watch that's so small, so sleek, but yet so fashionable. And once the Delirium hit the market, ETA was having some problems with getting funding for their next venture, which was going to be Swatch. And once they saw that the Delirium was doing so well, the banks, they kind of opened their doors, because before they were so worried about bailing people out and bailing these watchmakers and watch groups out. That's all they were doing for the last decade. But when they saw that they actually had a plan that was going to target the low-end market and really start bringing in cash, that changed their minds about joining the Swatch Group and helping them become who they are today.
And that was so much a big part of Swatch. they had watches that people would buy because it expressed their personalities.
Yeah.
So, you know, all over the world, Swatch was very popular, but in America in the 80s was really a time where Swatch really blew up because you had all these colors and shapes and all of this
So
stuff
many cool
where you could
designs.
have 5 watches and every watch that you have is unique and it tells a little bit about who you are. Now that died out a little bit, you know, but worldwide, hugely popular.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Hugely popular.
And I think if you guys are bored, do some Google searches out there. There are actually full Swatch collections that have been sold for $2-3 million from distributors who collected every single Swatch that was ever produced up until a certain span, because people just still have that attachment. Many collectors I talked to, their first watch was a Swatch. If you grew up in the 80s, even early 90s, even to today, the Swatch watch is still a great watch to gift to somebody under a certain age. You can even get to the Swatch System 51, which is a mechanical piece now, which it's so unbelievable. I want to get a little sidetracked here, but it's so unbelievable that the Swatch System 51 came out, was I think $150 retail, and every hardcore watch guy, my guys I'm selling tourbillons to, minute repeaters to, do you have a System 51? Do you have a Swatch guy? Do you have a guy over at Swatch? It was amazing, and they were buying 10s, 15s, and giving to their kids and friends, because at the end of the day, the great thing about watches is you want to share your love. You just want to share your love of this little piece of art, this little piece of mechanical engineering, and I think that's what Quartz helped to do. So depending on which side of the fence you stood, it was a Quartz crisis or the Quartz revolution. But no matter what, it is the thing that maybe the industry needed to push it forward.
Definitely.
And the reason why we get into the history a little bit, because we like to let you guys know how the brands kind of formed after that period. Because I think after the 60s, 70s, 80s, that's when you see certain brands go through the super high-end AP, Patek, Rolex as well. One of these are brands that had a nice big bank at the time, had really hardcore consumers still. Patek AP, that high-end, had those, a little bit, people a little bit more affluent who just looking.
The king, Rolex.
Exactly, no. And going to Rolex, at that time, Rolex was still the sports watch. You still wanted, you're not going to take a Quartz watch into water. So remember, that was your still oyster case.
But they did come out with, I believe it was a 5501 around this time, that was a Quartz-powered piece. So they did recognize that there was some value in the Quartz piece during this revolution. Now, they didn't completely go all Quartz, but they did realize that, hey, there is a trend, and the people have spoken, and maybe we should listen to a certain extent.
Yeah, no, definitely. I definitely feel like during those years, brands definitely listened to people much more at a faster beat. It's probably because production wasn't as crazy as it is today, but it's really refreshing to see when brands look at the market, see what people want, see what people are going to, and actually changing. Whereas now, certain brands will, because they produce at such a rate, or they belong to such big groups, that they have to produce so many pieces that people will be like, hey, I'm not feeling this, but they still have to produce. They still have to get this allotment out there, and that's where you end up with pieces sitting on shelves, ending up on a gray market. Your watch that you spend great money on getting devalued without you doing anything on it is really certain brands not following, what the people want or what the demand of the pieces are.
So if we had to say one thing out there, if you're listening right now, just listen to the people, because they know what they want, okay? So if we, we're consumers, we might have some ideas, the brands, just listen up, because, there might be some good ideas that we're throwing out there. Or else we're about to start our own watch company.
Oh yeah, you don't want us in the business.
Yeah,
we'll take it all. On that note, let's do a wrist check.
Okay.
Today, this is one of my favorite pieces, AP Royal Oak, rubber clad. Let's see if we get on the camera. And I just love this piece.
Yeah, APs are so beautiful.
It is, you can't go wrong with an AP. You really can't go wrong with a Royal Oak. And I haven't met an offshore that I wouldn't mind taking to the ball, if you know what I mean.
If you wore that with a tuxedo,
oh yeah,
coolest guy in the room.
Oh, 100%. I love it. What you got on today?
Oh, okay. I got my Tudor Heritage Black Bay. I mean, the thing I love about this thing is this red bezel.
It's gorgeous.
Right? Yeah. Come on. Because, I mean, I got some red on today, clearly. I'm into the red with this.
It reminds me of like Deadpool.
Okay.
Not to segue, really.
No, absolutely. I think Deadpool would be doing good with a watch like this.
Yeah, that'd be interesting.
Right?
And so I'm wearing the Omega CK2998. It's a limited edition piece, only 2,998 pieces. It's a beautiful piece. I just love the way that the blue and the silver come together, and that strap. Look at that strap. That blue alligator strap is so gorgeous.
It's gorgeous.
It's perfectly. I mean, the dial with those sub-dials, perfectly blue. The color scheme really works.
Yeah. Now I know you might be saying like, oh, well, they're talking quartz. Why do they have automatic watches?
Automatic manual.
You know. But remember, right? The whole point is that there is no right or wrong way. You can have 100 quartz watches and one automatic. You have 100 automatic, one quartz. It doesn't matter. What matters is the watch that you spend your money on is a watch that you actually wear, is a watch that you actually enjoy. So I enjoy selling, a Breitling Aerospace just as I enjoy selling, a Breitling, Chronomat 44, because the person who's going to wear it is going to enjoy the piece. That's really all that matters. So today we brought some really, really fun pieces here. We talked a little bit more about some nice quartz pieces. How do you want to start this? We want to start with?
Man, I think we should start with the oyster quartz.
Yeah, oh yeah, this is nice.
Yeah.
And so this is the Rolex oyster quartz. It's a two-tone piece, champagne dial, beautiful piece. Now, this is an example of Rolex doing a quartz watch. Now, they're more known for their automatic and beautiful timepieces that substantial, like the Submariner and the GMTs, but this is one of their standout pieces, and you don't really see this bracelet often. It's usually the Jubilee, the President, or the Oyster. This CQ, what exactly would this bracelet be called?
I'm not sure the exact name, but I'm gonna just call it the Oyster Quartz bracelet.
There we go.
It has that integrated Genta-esque style to it as well.
Yeah, you're right.
I am a super fan of Oyster Quartz watches. The reason why they're one Rolex that wasn't super produced, but there's a lot of different variations. You could get it all steel. You could get a two-tone like this. There is an Oyster Quartz day date that has like a president-style bracelet, but it's like a flat president bracelet. There's just so much character in this watch, and it's something refreshing to see that if you go back in the Rolex catalog, there was a time when they were having a little bit more fun and giving the people what they like. And maybe at the time, I'm not sure if it was a bestseller, but it's definitely a piece where when they go up on the website, people jump for it because the character is there on the piece. That's for sure.
I mean, Rolex is just so much character to that.
Yeah.
I can't help it. I'm a sucker for Omega, and so this is the Omega X33. It's a beautiful piece. It's both analog and digital. So, you're going to have the hands, but you also have the digital display in the background. They're giving you, multiple uses, a multi-function watch. What are all the functions, CQ? I know you
well, I'm not sure all the functions, but you definitely have a chronograph on there. I believe you have an alarm, countdown, timer. What's really interesting about this particular piece is because you have a full LCD background with the hands on top. Usually you have that dual display with two LCD screens and the hand kind of go in the middle, but this one gives you a full digital display and then the hands, and it just has this nice futuristic look. If I was going with Elon Musk, I was going to take that trip
to space.
This is what I'm going to wear for sure. This on one wrist and a Cosmo on the other, just to keep it traditional, But it's a really, really cool piece, and Omega's doing a lot of different reeditions with their digital pieces as well, because there is a real appreciation for quartz watches out there. Why not? Great price point, great functionality, and I'd say quartz watches are definitely the ones you might use a little bit more on a daily, as in terms of using the actual functions of them.
Yeah.
What else?
Let's show some love to the ladies. Let's throw out there something that any lady can love.
Tell us a little bit about this watch. I'm not as familiar with this ladies piece. It seems to be a ladies Audemars Piguet.
Yeah, it's a ladies Royal Oak. I want to say this one's about a 28 or 30 millimeter, a little bit on the tiny side, but clean, classy. What I love about this piece is you have the hard lines of the Royal Oak. It's still like a meaty piece, even though it's in a little delicate body. It gives you everything you want. That petite tapestry dial right there, 18 karat yellow rose gold with steel, real classy piece. Of course, ladies' watches are mostly quartz. Even ladies are jumping into automatic, but some of the coolest time only or just time and date quartz watches belong to ladies, and it just really invites brands to really have fun with cases a little bit more because they don't have to focus so much on the movement.
More attention on the aesthetics.
Exactly.
And that's a watch that you could give to your lady and also have, your Royal Oak on. And you guys are going out there in a pair.
Match set. Valentine's has passed, but it's always a good time to buy your lady a watch. Feel free to shoot me an email, CQ@thewatchbox. I got you.
And this is a ladies piece that I think most people will always know.
I think we can definitely say that this is the ladies piece, right?
Yeah.
This is the Patek Philippe 24. This is rose gold on a satin strap. it's called the 24 because in this version, and also when it's on the bracelet, it is meant to be worn from day to night. Why I say this is the ladies' piece, this is a Patek Philippe model that's been made for decades now and still sells like hotcakes.
Yes,
You
it
put
does.
it on a lady's wrist, their eyes light up. It's like seeing clouds in the sky. It's just like a magical feeling. It's really, really a beautiful, simple watch. You know, sometimes a watch doesn't need to be all pave diamonds, just a beautiful four on each side there, and then you got the 2 rows of diamonds with this beautiful satin strap and rose gold. It's all you really need.
Yeah,
I'm
and
speechless right now. I'm just like looking at the picture of this watch.
Yeah,
and
no.
I'm just like, oh my god.
I mean, you buy this watch because you're a Patek Philippe collector. And your wife is always hearing you talking on the phone to us, you know, about a 5711, whatever.
Yeah, can I get
And
the
they're
Aquanaut?
they're like, you say Patek Philippe more than my name, all right? So that's when I throw out the suggestion, I think you buy her the 24, okay? And
day.
then she's like, oh, you said Patek Philippe? Oh, you said that? Oh, what am I getting?
Exactly.
Exactly.
So
So
it's actually a great entry model to get, you know, your lady into the watches because it trends that line of watch and dressy, but it's still watch and jewelry, but it's still an icon in its
Yeah.
own realm. And definitely, you know, I think it's always nice to. I had a client, you know, this week bought her AP, and his wife was on the phone the whole time. It was the coolest thing ever because you know, being in my previous locations where I work, everybody's on vacation, and a lot of times you see, you know, they don't want to be part of it.
Yeah.
But it's not that they don't want to be involved in the buying; is that you haven't brought them in.
Exactly.
You haven't brought them into your own little world. You haven't said, hey, this is why I like this watch. This is why I'm such a nerd about this. And I think a Patek 24 in steel. Pre-owned, you could get a really decent price, 6,000 or 7,000. Rose gold, of course, is gonna be a little bit more than that, but it's still a great, nice watch that she'll wear all day, and she'll always think about you 24 hours a day.
Ooh.
All right.
Oh, this is the Breitling. I believe this is the Exospace.
Yeah, Exospace.
The name
55.
itself just sounds.
Yeah, it's a really cool watch. What was interesting with this piece is Breitling is pretty much, I don't want to say, they're one of the ones who package quartz in some very unique ways. Ralph Snyder, when he took over Breitling in the 80s, he himself was also a micro-engineer, electrical engineer, like Nicolas Hayek. So when he bought the Breitling brand, he wanted to put quartz in everything. So he, you know, came out with the aerospace, a few other little funky models if you go back in history. But this is, to me, the true evolution of the Breitling aerospace. Aerospace has been around since the 90s in different versions. Pilots love this watch, and there's people who just want a solid watch. Titanium, it's a perpetual calendar, it's a minute repeater, it's an alarm, you got countdown timers in there, you got a couple different chronographs in there, and in this version, they beefed up the case a little bit more, and now it's actually rechargeable. If you show them on the side, you got a little spot there where you put a recharger, so it's actually a rechargeable, you know, quartz piece. And to me, this is the real evolution of the Breitling aerospace. And I just love the crisp lines on it. It's clean, it's classy, it's beautiful on this black rubber strap. On a titanium bracelet is really awesome too. But this is one piece that you could do anything with. So on that
let me
note,
see that. That is.
let's do a quick buy-sell trade. Let's do
Now,
the
hold on.
extra
Now
space.
do one more shot.
Oh.
We don't have the plastic on.
Oh, no
to
protection.
really show them that bezel.
Well, you know, we got to make sure that these pieces stay classy until we put
Now,
it
look
on
at
somebody's
that.
wrist. But yeah, look at the shine on that.
When you
Oh,
list
gosh.
all of the things that this can do, that manual must be 100 pages long.
Yeah, it is a pretty thick manual, but they also they put everything online for you now. So I find like once you set it a couple of times, it's really not that hard, and because it is a perpetual calendar, it keeps going. And I think it's a couple months worth of battery charge on there, and then it goes to sleep mode. So once you set it, you can kind of sort of forget it. But let's do buy sell trade.
Let's do it.
Let's do the Exospace
versus
the Speedy versus the Oyster Quartz.
Okay.
What do we got? What you taking?
So I'll go first. Sorry. So I think I'm gonna do what I'm buying to keep is gonna be the Rolex Oyster Quartz. There's something about Rolex, you know, I just really love Rolex, and so to have an Oyster Quartz it's just a very specific example of Rolex, you know, listening to the people, and also having a watch that I remember speaking to, I believe he was a rep from Glashute, and he was saying how he likes to take off his watch when he gets home on Friday and not touch it until Monday. And sometimes the issue with power reserve is that the watch would probably stop holding the time after about Sunday. But with a quartz piece, you don't have to worry about that. As long as you're, making sure that you service it and change the batteries in time, you're gonna always have a watch that's on time and it's on very precise.
Forget about it.
Exactly. And to have that in a Rolex piece, it's just like, you can't go wrong.
What more could
you can't go wrong. So to sell, I would do the Breitling X20. No, I'm sorry, the Breitling
Exospace.
Sorry.
E55.
Yes, Exospace. I would sell the Breitling Exospace. It's a beautiful piece. I just maybe would get into a cooler version of the analog and quartz version. It's the black titanium cockpit version.
Cockpit B50.
So I mean, like, I don't think it's an exact upgrade, but this would be more my style, my type of model, and we're gonna go into it a little bit more later. But definitely would probably sell that to get into this, and I would trade the X23. The X23 is a beautiful piece. For me, it's weird that I just don't really mesh as much with the digital background as much. So I would probably trade it into, maybe getting into a more contemporary Seamaster quartz piece, Aquaterra piece like this one that I actually own. It's my piece.
That's kind of
Makes
humble
sense.
brag. I'm sorry.
That makes sense.
But yes, just because I like hands, I'm an old school guy.
Hey,
what
no,
can I say?
wrong with that.
But
Nothing wrong with
that would be my buy sell trade. What about you, Zach?
All right, so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna join you. I'm gonna buy the Rolex, because you buy Rolexes, okay? And you're buying this one, if you wanna get it pre-owned on the pre-owned market, you're probably gonna pay somewhere around, $3,900 for something like this. And at that value, that's not too crazy of a price to get into the Rolex game. And then you have that, then you've got a Rolex quartz watch that you can always have in your collection.
That not many people have out there.
Exactly. And you bring somebody in, you show them your watch box, and you've got a Rolex quartz watch, they will know that your collection is vast, okay? And then I'll show them the 10 other watch boxes.
Yeah, right, of course.
So I'm gonna sell the Omega Speedmaster, okay? I think it's an awesome watch, but just like you, I don't like my dials to be digital, okay? Mostly digital at least, okay? I want, a nice dial, something that has a nice finish maybe. So maybe that's not for me. Also, it kind of looks like I've got a space station on my wrist. So exactly what you're saying with the Elon Musk thing, it looks, like this is a project to Mars.
It's a beautiful piece, but I get what it does kind of have that like UFO appeal, which is not bad. If you're into the futuristic view and like if you always had the like Back to the Future thing, then this watch is for you.
Yeah, exactly. So personally, just not for me. So I'm gonna sell it. I'm probably gonna get somewhere around $3,000 for that watch. Then what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna trade the Breitling, okay? But I love the Breitling. I love Breitling as a brand, so I'm gonna keep it in the same family, and I'm gonna get this limited edition, the Breitling Chronospace, the black steel with that military green dial. I mean, the reason why I'm trading that watch is because I like a dial that might get your attention a little bit. Not too many colors on that one, but you have that military green. You see me with the red bezel. You really can't go wrong with it. So, and it has functions. It has hours, minutes, split seconds, chronograph, alarm, perpetual calendar. I mean, you get a lot.
Slide rule on there too. I think Pouts love that watch. It's a great one.
Yeah,
Slide
so
rule.
I can't really go wrong with
6B.
that, and I'm probably still gonna have about $1,000 left in my pocket after the end of the day. So
Can't go
There you
wrong
go.
with that.
Can't go wrong with that. Oh, man, I'll make this quick. I've been thinking about it. So we're gonna keep the Exospace. I just love this watch. I love it on the bracelet. I love the look. I love the functionality. I'm gonna sell and trade the X23 and the Rolex to get the Rolex Oyster Quartz President.
Oh, okay.
Oyster Day. Because that watch on the wrist, I found a few out there in the wild, and there's one watch I put it on. I could see myself having this forever. It's a size where your lady could wear it as well, so it's kind of we could share this watch together.
Like a lady wearing your dress shirt,
yeah, exactly.
sleeping
It's just
over.
like,
It's like, she's got my watch on.
Exactly. It's kind of a beautiful thing, and I just love that it has that gentle kind of design to it. I love the angles on it, so that's my personal.
I like how we
trade.
turned this in from a multiple choice to a a comprehensive reading test.
Yeah. We
it's
try.
okay.
We
It's okay.
keep everybody on their toes.
Absolutely.
And I think this would be perfect for me to segue into this the segment I think I've been workshopping with you guys about, we wanted to kind of connect different things to watches, because watches aren't just, purely luxury. And so I was thinking, what do I kind of know and what am I, kind of knowledgeable about? And I really love comics and anime. And I was thinking, we have a special guest here who's always sitting behind me. He's one of my favorite comic book guys. No, it's not Zach. It's Bruce Wayne. It's Bruce Wayne. And I was thinking, like, what watch would Bruce Wayne wear? What watch fits what Bruce Wayne does the best? And so I go back to this cockpit by Breitling, this beautiful cockpit. Let me put it the right side up. And now this piece is black titanium. The reason I think it works for Batman because number one, the titanium is super light, so he can hardly feel it on his wrist. It has an actual compass on it. So many functions that I'm probably not able to speak about because Batman can't let us know. It's probably on some go-go gadget stuff.
Yeah, we can't.
But nonetheless, it just looks like something that he'd be able to wear while he's out in the streets fighting crime, and then he might be able to, go to the ball with his suit on and hide it kind of discreetly.
And somebody would be like, wait, wasn't Batman wearing that watch? And he'd be like,
no, it wasn't me. That was Christian Bale Batman. Not Ben Affleck Batman. No. But nonetheless, I think that this would be the piece that we'd put Batman, aka Bruce Wayne, in, and I think it's a perfect model for him. And I'd like to, in future segments, we'll go through other characters, and hopefully you guys can pitch in on some of your favorite characters and what you think they'd wear.
Christian Bale is a better Batman. I just wanted to establish
I think Christian Bale's a better Batman, but Ben Affleck is a better Bruce Wayne.
We could get into this for hours. This is a different episode. We'll talk about it then.
You let us know in the comments. I'm right.
I think there's something that people have been asking about. Like, it's been a week, and like they might have withdrawals.
Yeah, when you get that type of hit, you need a whole week without it. It's not the same.
We got him. We finally found him. We brought him back, and it's time for our favorite segment, Regonomics.
All right, guys. Well, thank you for the segue. So today on Regonomics, we're talking quartz watches. Are they something that you should be afraid to purchase on the pre-owned market? And are they a good value buy? The watch I want to cover today is the FP Journe Elegante Titanium Quartz watch. The tonneau-shaped case is 40 millimeters wide and 48 millimeters long, and is surprisingly thin for such a large watch at 7.35 millimeters thick. The titanium is extremely lightweight and is super comfortable on the wrist. With alternating brushed and polished surfaces along the case, the watch comes off as being expertly detailed even for a quartz watch. The watch battery inside the caliber 1210 quartz movement is said to last 8 to 10 years with regular use and can actually last 18 years if kept in standby mode. Wow. This watch sells new for $11,400, but is holding its value incredibly well in the pre-owned market. If you bought this watch new and are thinking to yourself, I think it's time to switch it up, you'll be happy to know that you can expect to get between $10,000 and $11,000. Did he say $10,000 or $11,000? You bet your bottom dollar I did.
Crazy.
This is where the fine print would go by and it would say, in excellent condition, of course.
Yes,
but
pending watchmakers.
Pending watchmakers reports.
Mike Michaels has to put that stamp.
Yeah. Exactly. But I would recommend this watch as a good buy. It's a watch that you can expect to recoup a good amount of value and what you originally spent. And it will be a watch that any collector can truly fall in love with. Now, if you guys have any watches that you are interested in finding out what the current market is, please feel free to comment with questions, call or email any of us, or go to the Watchbox app on your smartphone where you can track real-time data on the current watch market for any watch in your collection at the touch of a button. And remember, if you're looking for a watch on any of these watches that were shown on the show today or anything that we might have, I might know a guy.
Ooh.
That was a great one.
And before we end the show, I think we have a new thing that we want you guys to do. Before you subscribe, comment, like, but we have a new thing that we want you guys to do, and it's Stump CQ.
Yes.
If you guys can find one way to not have CQ connect watches to any topic. We want you to comment a topic you don't think that we can connect to watches. You will not be able to stump CQ.
Anything.
He's a big body of knowledge that will not be beaten by you.
Fuji mountains, the vanilla ice cream,
Pancakes, French toast.
Anything. He'll connect it.
Let's do an easy one real quick. A little
Okay.
60 seconds. Let's take a wine bottle. Wine,
Wine?
very
How does
nice.
that-
You know, let's not even take the bottle. Let's take the cork of the
cork?
wine bottle. Did you know that in
A cork?
Portugal they make cork watch straps?
What?
How
So
can
that
you
just
stump
gives you an
CQ?
idea. Like, there's no way. It doesn't happen. It doesn't happen. Stump CQ.
Good
Please,
luck.
try it.
Good luck.
Please.
Thank you guys for
Thank you.
tuning in. It was an awesome show. You know, this is CQ, Zach, Rigonomics, Rego, and Jay, who loves watches.
Yes, sir.
And enjoy the rest of your Sunday, and see you next week.